Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News channel. We're going to take you on a bit of a journey tonight that I think will tell a story, one with a moral to it. I hope it helps put things in perspective tonight as we look into the top news stories of the day, which I think will illustrate the need to stop taking shortcuts, stop cutting corners, raise the standard. If a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right. Because if you don't, I think tonight's top news stories will show you what the result can be. And a lot of what I'm going to show you tonight is not pretty. Stay with me.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
When I was a kid, one of my first jobs was working for Wendy's. I've been thinking about it off and on for a long time, and it resurfaced in my mind overnight. That job has had a big impact on my life. I learned a lot from it, not just because I worked there, and it was one of the best jobs I ever had, I have to say. Didn't pay much, but I learned a lot, especially from this guy, Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's. I never met him, but I read his first book, Dave's Way. A lot of what he writes about in that book, and there was a second book, which I have not read, but I'm going to make a point of it now that I'm talking about it again. So much of what he shares in this book is straight up common sense. It's a book about values. He's a big advocate, or was, well, he was still with us, for adoption, not abortion. He a brilliant businessman. Took him a long time to get there, though, but he had a vision that has become his legacy in the thousands of Wendy's restaurants scattered around the world. Even after the big fast food chains became an oligopoly, in the face of that competition, he struck out and created Wendy's. Turned it into one of the biggest restaurant chains in the entire world because he didn't cut corners. What does that have to do with tonight's top news stories? Just about everything. Just about every darn thing. Dave Thomas had a lot to teach. It still does. Politicians could learn a lot from him, because when you cut corners, you get unintended consequences. You try to rig the economy, and you are messing with natural law, manipulating supply and demand. You are messing with nature, maybe, depending on your perspective, your point of view, messing with God's work. That's maybe a bit of a stretch, but maybe not so much. Tonight, what are we seeing? We're seeing chaos, immigration clashes, court cases designating U.S. citizens as terrorists. In New Jersey tonight, officials have imposed a curfew around a Newark immigration detention center after violent protests there. Demonstrations began last month over living conditions at the facility. We have a little bit of video here. I'll share it with you.
Protesters clashing with police. There were dozens of arrests for violating a curfew the mayor of Newark imposed outside the ICE detention center at Delaney Hall. Anywhere within a half mile is off limits from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., and police moved in to clear the streets. The arrests capped a combative weekend, with some protesters setting fires and using barricades as weapons. Mounted police and officers in riot gear pushing them back. Tensions began over Memorial Day after detainees launched a hunger strike over living conditions they call inhumane. Visitations have resumed at Delaney Hall, but state health officials say they've been denied full access to inspect the private facility with a government contract. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill sent the state police to take control so federal immigration officers would back down.
We've seen what has happened with ICE across the country. I won't let that unfold here. Having worked with New Jersey State Police and local law enforcement, I know how well trained they are, the best in the nation. I trust them to follow our Constitution.
The Department of Homeland Security says there is zero tolerance for rioters, but the mayor of Newark, Diane, says lawful protest is necessary because the conditions at this facility are just so bad.
One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Does the punishment fit the crime or even the charges? I guess you have to be the judge, right? But based on what kind of information? And the framing of everything, the choice of words. What is a terrorist? A terrorist is whatever a government designates as a terrorist. Tonight, we have some U.S. citizens being charged as terrorists, facing up to 60 years in prison. As a result, I just have so much stuff queued up here. This goes back to an incident July 4th of, I believe it was last year, involving a group of Antifa protesters. 12 people have now been convicted, pled guilty, or some pled guilty, and the rest were found guilty after they were involved in this protest outside an ICE detention facility in North Texas. Body camera and dash camera video from police show the moment when an Alvarado police officer was shot in the neck and what came in the aftermath following that, as police were searching for suspects following what federal prosecutors later described as an attack on a North Texas ICE facility by an Antifa terror cell. Now, the reason they're facing such potentially lengthy sentences is because of an executive order and another change in legislation that came directly from President Trump after he came back into office. Question is it suitable punishment for all of them, some of them? I can only tell you that it depends on which media outlet you're referring to or referencing in order to get your news. But I can tell you that it's being handled in a much different way than it would have been handled before. The reason I bring this up, this particular story, is because it just came back onto my radar, because last night I was showing you the use of fireworks as a protest device, or some would say maybe a weapon, in Paris during the big riots that have been going on over there following that sporting event, where you get this hooliganism that often follows sports events, especially soccer. And even in Europe, you get these riots that happen. But a lot of this is being blamed on immigrants, and there seems to be some evidence to support that. Kind of a lot of the protesters coming from immigrant communities, a lot of them poorer neighborhoods, and fireworks were used. Well, fireworks were also used in this particular protest or terrorist attack, depending on your perspective. And not only that, well, at least one of the protesters was armed with a gun and did appear to did shoot a police officer in the neck. I have this report from, I'll check the date on it. This initial report, I believe, was just the day after, I think, or shortly after the, I'm not sure of the dates. I'm just going to leave that blank. If in doubt, leave it out. It's self-explanatory. I'll let it roll here from the local television station.
Police officer arrives.
Hey, stop!
It only takes seconds.
He's running! Get on the ground!
Before he's shot in the neck.
We have an officer that's been hit. Who's hit?
I am.
You good?
No, I'm f***ing hit.
He survived and recovered from what federal authorities call a terror attack outside a North Texas ICE detention center on the 4th of July.
Do not move! You
Did you see the fireworks being fired in the background? So here, I'm going to re-rack this just a little bit. You can see them being fired up into the air. Now, I wasn't there. This is the only video I've seen of that myself. The prosecution is saying those fireworks were being used as a weapon. The protesters or terrorists, depending on which camp you're in, saying they were used for a show of solidarity, whatever that means. Just look up into the sky and you'll see the flashes of light.
Federal authorities call a terror attack outside a North Texas ICE detention center on the 4th of July.
do not move! You will be shot!
You're seeing the shooting and its aftermath for the first time on video obtained by WFAA.
Don't move!
Put your hands!
The feds charged more than a dozen people, calling them Antifa terrorists.
Now, I'm going to stop it there because last night, all day yesterday, day before, a lot of the social media posts flying around showing those riots in Paris, saying that it's all immigrants, and then you're saying that it's the same problem here in Canada and the US. But I'm saying, yeah, there might be some truth to that, but at the same time, you don't need immigrants to get crime like this. You don't need it. It's not just immigrants that fire off fireworks at protests. And it isn't just immigrants that shoot people. Do these people look like immigrants? These are members of Antifa. I don't know where you would deport them to. I can't say if they're immigrants because I'm not judging them by the color of their skin. I'm just saying they don't really fit the cliche of what the cliche used by some people to say, you must be a terrorist.
Them Antifa terrorists in a first-of-its-kind case that led to a manhunt, then guilty pleas and convictions this spring. But that night,
At least how many's with you?
Now, answers.
Don't know.
video shows officers struggled to find everyone involved. letting some suspects pass by.
I thought those were officers.
No, those are just a whole bunch of people walking in black.
Before detaining them and searching their stuff.
I do not consent to search.
I don't care.
To a search as well.
You ain't got to consent to a damn thing to do.
Dash cam audio shows others were more cooperative.
Anything else y'all would like to know, officers?
They say they didn't know it would end like this.
I don't have a mask or anything. I'm just a peaceful protester.
State charges are still pending, and 9 of the suspects are appealing their federal convictions. Reporting in DFW, I'm Cole Sullivan.
Right. This stuff happens because people cut corners. Politicians cut corners, law enforcement cuts corners, protesters cut corners. Everybody takes the easy path. Or they sometimes say this is the difficult path, but no, actually it's the easiest. The politicians, we see it happening here in Canada, and it's not racist to say this at all. The politicians exploit the system. In many cases, they've been making dirty deals to bring in more immigrants, knowing that if they do that, they can have a community of people that will vote for them. It happens both in Canada and the United States, very much so here in Canada. That's an easy thing to do. You're basically buying votes with citizenship. It's no different than what Trump does with his golden ticket for citizenship. I think, what was it, $1 million? And you can instantly get access to U.S. citizenship and the right to work because they want the rich people. It's kind of gross. It isn't kind of gross. It's extremely gross. There are other ways that the system is being abused too, but I just offer that up as an example on, two extremes of the same extremism. Because the politicians who have brought in so many of these immigrants have made deals. It's documented. You go to Brampton, I know it's huge culture shock for people. I totally get it. I've been up there. It doesn't look like the Brampton that I knew when I was growing up. I rarely ever have gone to Brampton, but I went up there a few years ago. I don't go to every city every week, but I know that if you walk around in Brampton, it doesn't look like it looks like it looked in the 1970s. And that's because especially one politician in particular, who I won't name, has made deals. There was even a deal to delist one of the a terrorist organization as a terrorist organization, to work to have that listing as I think it's the Tamil Tigers, to get them delisted, basically in exchange for political support from the community leaders who then, promote that particular politician. And he's not a liberal, but they support him. He supports them. More immigration. They get to bring in more people. He advocates for that. He backs them up. He then goes to bat for them to get their political activism group, Tamil Tigers, designated as a terrorist group, off the terror list. That's all true. That's on the one side. On the other side, you have the protesters, Antifa. I think they get a sense of community out of that, but rather than, go through the lengthy process of trying to solve things just politically or just engage in actual peaceful protests, they go too far. Everybody's taking everything too far and taking the easy path instead of talking things out, working through the political process, getting involved in the community, getting involved by running for office to advocate or to bring constructive change. No, they'll go out and fire off fireworks or shoot a police officer in the neck. At the same time, what does Donald Trump do? Oh, it's the easy thing, right? The crazy things that he'll do. He creates a system where for $1 million, you can just buy citizenship. Oh, that'll be an easy thing to do. Then the rich people will come, we'll take their money, we'll make them a U.S. citizen. They get all of these perks Everything with him is the easy path. He's not a true conservative. He's not a conservative at all. I keep telling everybody he's abandoned conservative principles. Tariffs, controlled economy, rigging, putting pressure on rigging the economy, playing with the markets just by opening his mouth. He did it again this week. I told everybody there won't be peace in the Middle East this week. Wednesday? He said that the deal was imminent, that talks were progressing rapidly. Oh, well, then that makes the price of oil go down. And then by Thursday, it was like, oh yeah, we've got a deal. Just have to sign it and it's all done. By Friday, everything was looking real good. By the time I got to the end of Friday, though, it was already beginning to shift. Now things weren't looking so good, and Iran started to back off. So what's going on tonight? Well, over the weekend, I told everybody it's going to deteriorate. It's going to get worse again. It's a pattern now. End of the week, they've got a deal. All they have to do is just put the big X on where it says signature, and we've got a deal, and the ceasefire will be extended, and peace is on the horizon. It's imminent, and it's not. So then we get to by this morning, Iran's saying, no, there's no deal. We're walking away. We're not talking. And Trump's saying today he's giving a dual message again. What's he saying? He's saying tonight, telling one media outlet, oh yeah, I'm not much interested in talking to them anyway. Well, on the other hand, now he's saying that he has secured something of an agreement with Hezbollah in Lebanon because Israel had been launching new attacks there while the fireworks were still going off between Iran and the U.S. in the Strait of Hormuz. Israel was still attacking Lebanon over the weekend. But Trump then saying, oh, no, I've been talking to Hezbollah, and they have agreed to a deal as long as Israel stops. Audio that just went off in my head here. A second here. I don't know where it's coming from. Here it is. Sorry, that's just in my headphones. You can't hear it. I can. I just I had to get rid of it so that I could think. And so we've got this statement from the Lebanese embassy in Washington. And so there seems to be something going on with it, but there's still no peace deal. There's still no extension on the ceasefire that isn't a ceasefire, because this is all about taking shortcuts. This is about fake diplomacy. I'd say negotiations that might not even have really been going on at all. It's a shortcut to making big profits off commodities without getting caught, because you've got a pattern going on. So the people in the know what you're going to say on Thursday or Friday, and then they know what's going to happen by Monday. So they're buying and selling, and the data is all there. It's happening. Insiders are making big bank, not because of increased productivity or grit or hard work or, subscribing to the American way. Unless you look at the American way as kind of rigging the markets and ripping people off. It's just pure corrupt capitalism is what that is. Well, here's the statement from the Lebanese embassy. In the context of the efforts exerted by the Lebanese state to preserve stability and spare Lebanon further escalation, they write, and in the wake of the call that took place between the President of the Republic, General Joseph Aoun, and the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the Lebanese authorities received confirmation of Hezbollah's agreement to the U.S. proposal, which calls for a reciprocal cessation of attacks. Under the proposed arrangement, Israeli strikes at Beirut's southern suburbs would cease in exchange for Hezbollah refraining from carrying out attacks against Israel, with the ceasefire framework to be expanded to encompass all Lebanese territories. Later, President Trump held a call with Lebanon's ambassador to the United States, Nada Mawad, and informed her that he had obtained the approval of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for the proposed arrangement. The ambassador relayed the outcomes of the discussions to the president, who in turn notified Hezbollah of them. The scheduled negotiations meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday are set to convene to discuss this progress and build upon it. Okay, whatever. Tonight's thumbnail and headline on many of the channels is Iranian nothing burger, and that's exactly what we've had over and over again through this entire process. A big nothing burger, great, fake news coming from Trump, fake diplomacy, fake everything. This going on over the weekend. Israel continuing to attack Lebanon. But is even this real? We don't know, because, hey, they're taking shortcuts. A lot of stuff is produced using artificial intelligence. This, I think, is authentic video, but it's being presented, and maybe so, as the use of phosphorus weapons by Israel against Lebanon, phosphorus bombs. Now, some will tell you that it's a banned munition. It depends on how it's used. It's supposed to be used for illumination at night. In any event, this could just be smoke, but it looks suspiciously like phosphorus weapons.
الأخير في لبنان دكتور علي.
That's inhumane. So this was going on. Well, Trump is saying that all they have to do is put the X on the line, and everything is going to be peaceful in the Middle East over the weekend. Now, I haven't been able to verify if those are actual phosphorus weapons or not. A lot of that stuff's coming from Iran. And as I've said repeatedly, don't trust what Iran puts out. And I don't trust what comes out of the White House either. Not this administration. Because they're engaged in all kinds of things that are clearly shortcuts. As I keep saying, it's not just what you do, it's how you do it. You have an issue with immigration, and I understand it, in a lot of communities, you're going through some culture shock. But you're not going to solve the problem just by getting rid of some people, especially people who have really no power, and just having some people with power pointing their fingers at them and saying they're the problem. You just get rid of those people, and the problem will be solved. And you elect me, you give me the power to do it. I'll do that for you. All you have to do is give me the reins of power. I say be very careful of people talking like that, lest you get this as a result. And I think there is truth to this. Absolutely, there's truth to what I'm about to show you. This is more than 6,300 kids under the age of 18. We're talking about children in the United States. Because of the Trump administration and the ICE program, more than 6,300 children under 18, almost all with no criminal record, have been detained by federal immigration authorities during President Trump's second term, with nearly half held at the Dilley Immigration Processing Center in Texas. There's one media report on it. There's another one. CBS Mornings, children held like criminals inside ICE detention center. Oh, but you can't believe them, Rick. They're a left-wing mainstream media outlet, and they just lie. Do they? Sometimes they don't get it right, and sometimes they just put people on and let people say what they're going to say, including government officials who you probably shouldn't be trusting anyway because they're politicians and self-serving. I'll side with the kids on this one and give them the benefit of the doubt. And I would say, show me inside. Let me see what's going on in there. And there needs to be some accountability. The problem is when you designate people terrorists or illegal immigrants, their rights are very limited and in some cases stripped away from them completely. That's part of the problem with the situation with those, I would say, young people, university age, charged with an act of terrorism, those Antifa members we just showed you down in Texas. Yeah. It's an issue. It's a problem. In that case, you had about 11 or 12 people, the North Texas Antifa cell. And so fireworks were used, just as I showed you the night. And let me just stop there for a moment and I'll say this. This is why, the reason it is happening, the reason it continues to happen is because the politicians who support Antifa are taking a shortcut. They're not, they when Biden was in power, they didn't enforce the law. They let it go because it served their political purpose. So now you get the pendulum swinging back the other way. You get the Trump administration in. What does he do? He signs an executive order designating these people as terrorists. As a result, they could go to jail for up to 60 years. It's executive order. And there's also this NSPM-7, Countering Domestic Terrorism and Organized Political Violence. It's a memorandum that was issued just days after the executive order on Antifa designation. Antifa now designated as a terrorist organization. So these people are all designated as terrorists. So as a result, their rights are extremely diminished, even as U.S. citizens. Terrorists do not have the same rights as just an ordinary citizen. Your rights are largely stripped away. Now, if you're a U.S. citizen, you retain some, but strongly diminished. And this NSPM-7, Countering Domestic Terrorism and Organized Political Violence, explicitly ties into the Antifa EO or executive order and encourages using tools like material support charges, enhanced penalties, broader investigations into networks. It allows the government then to dig into data, start opening files and digging into people's personal information, violating privacy, doing an end run around people's rights because they're using this as an excuse because of what they've done as an excuse to go after anybody they pretty much bloody well please. And by designating them as terrorists, it also gives them broader discretion and abilities to use a whole bunch of other kinds of charges against the people. Now, had this happened prior to the executive order and the memorandum issued by Donald Trump with the stroke of a Sharpie, the matter would have been handled using more conventional federal criminal charges. And it would have resulted more in charges like civil disorder or rioting, assaulting and resisting local officers. Of course, if you shoot a police officer in the neck with a gun, you could be charged with attempted murder, and that's what the charge would have been. And assault with a dangerous weapon, conspiracy to commit, all of that as well. And the charges and the resulting sentences upon conviction would still be extremely severe, maybe 10 to 30 years, more likely sentences in the range of like 2 to 10. But now that they're terrorists, Trump can go whole hog and really put the hammer down. The question is that appropriate? Well, again, I would say that that's kind of a shortcut. You see, the problem is, if the shortcuts hadn't been taken to begin with, if they'd taken, what do they call it, like a broken windows policy, right? When somebody does even a minor crime, you call it out, you lay charges. When protests get out of hand, you enforce the law, not selectively, but even-handedly. That's my position. That's what I've always said. Somebody breaks the law, you charge them. You see people running down the street, as we did in Paris, and they're smashing windows, they're busting up bus shelters, setting fires in the middle of the street, you arrest the people, you charge them. Even if it's a lot of people, you round them up as they are committing the crimes. You present the evidence and you proceed with the charges against the people. No exceptions. Problems solved. But you let it slide. You let these protests escalate beyond peaceful protests, and you get what you've got. That's not an immigration problem. That's an enforcement problem. That's a political problem. You can get rid of the people, but you're not getting rid of the problem. Because as you saw in the photos that I just put up on the screen, I don't see evidence that necessarily that those people within the Antifa, now terror cell, are immigrants. It's not the color of the skin. It's what's in people's hearts and what's in their heads. And it's their attitude. But when you, and I say you, I mean people in general, when we are exposed to a non-stop barrage of social media posting from extremely biased influencers on one side or another, it definitely has an impact on you. Because watching isn't just, it's certainly not news these days. It's frickin' marketing. Choices of words. It's not really journalism. It's activism, political promotion. And as I said, it is advertising. To get you to think a certain way, get you to respond a certain way, to get a reaction out of you, to emotionally get you engaged. It's happening on both sides. And it gets amplified in your mind because, well, this is going on here. I pretty much guarantee it's Border Hawk news. Is it? Okay, I don't know if it's news, but it's emotional. I bet you a block over, it's peaceful, maybe 2 blocks over, and then in the rest of the city, all is well. But if you focus on that, if a tree falls in the forest, make a sound. If you show a tree falling in the forest and you put that out, live stream it on social media to 1.5 million people, it makes a pretty big noise. Not saying and that makes any of this right. I'm not making an excuse for anyone. Quite the contrary. I'm saying we need to be aware. And when people break the law, the solution is to simply enforce the law. It doesn't mean you need to elect somebody with more power to give them, to enable them or empower them to take more of your freedom away. It means all that had to happen was a long time ago, people needed to say, hey, stop misbehaving or we're going to lay down the law. And that goes for the freedom people too. Because I've been living it. And I've been attacked repeatedly when I call out misbehavior. For those of you who have been here for a long time as part of our Maverick family, you know that to be true because you've seen me going through it. You've been going through it with me. Wait a minute. I don't think you should be going out to that event. I recommend you not go to that because there's a guy there with a swastika on a flag. And everybody said that if anybody showed up with a swastika like they did at the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa, which could never be somebody from the freedom movement because we would never do that, they say, we would just tell that person to go home. We would never have anything to do with that. And yet they did. And instead of saying, yeah, no, we're not going to participate in that, or we're going to tell that guy, get out of here with that flag, leave that behind, or don't show up. No, they came after me. Okay, that's a choice. But it continues. It escalates. It's getting worse, not better. Much, much worse. You can sit there in denial and maybe you're afraid to stand up and do something about it. But I'll tell you this, I sure as heck didn't start sitting in this chair 5 years ago defending people's rights and freedoms during the lockdowns, the mandates, to now, all this time later, sit back and do nothing while other people's rights are being taken away. Because it's the same damn thing, just coming from the other side and maybe worse. You know it. And a lot of you are just too afraid to stand up and do anything about it or say anything because some of these people are goddamn bullies. And you're afraid, and I get it. I understand. I'm tolerant of it. But not me. I call it like I see it and I stand up because too many people have paid too high a price or through history to leave behind lessons that we should have learned from a long time ago. And it is getting worse. Montreal, this just within the last, week, this shit. And I'm sorry for my language, but it deserves it. I'm tired of this. I understand the frustration out there, but there's no excuse. Politicians denounce white supremacist gathering at Shawinigan, Quebec. You can justify this any way you want, and it's not going to be justified. You know what this is, but you're putting up with it because you're either afraid, maybe you're not aware, maybe you're not aware of how far this has gone. It's been a drip, 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 creep, creep, creep. I don't like it because it's wrong. Political figures in Quebec and Ottawa have denounced a white supremacist rally held on May 30th in Shawinigan, Quebec, in the Maurice region northeast of Montreal. Masked individuals, because they're cowards, displayed a banner reading, "I remember a white Quebec," near the city's cenotaph. Premier Christine Frechette said racist messages have no place in Quebec society and must be denounced clearly and unequivocally. Take off your masks. You gonna follow that? Is that the answer? That's a shortcut. That's cutting a corner. Lots of them. That's a desire for instant gratification. I have a problem. I have culture shock. I don't like these people in my neighborhood. Let's get rid of them all. Let's just round them up, whoever they are. Oh, how about that whole neighborhood over there? Let's get all the kids and put them, and this is not a joke. I just showed you, let's put 6,000 children, in a prison. Where are you going to deport them to? Who cares? Just get them out of here. Any safe third country will do. If we can't send them back to where they came from, we'll just send them to a gulag in El Salvador. The leader of El Salvador coming to visit President Trump in his very stylish outfit the other day. That was about a week ago. Trump's a big fan because they have the huge detention facility that they set up down there in El Salvador. Take a lot of these detainees. Why do they ship them out? You get them off U.S. soil, you have no rights. It's not about what you do. It's about how you do it. Maybe we didn't, you and I, create the problem, but whether we like it or not, diversity may not be our strength per se. Doesn't necessarily mean it's our weakness either, but it is our challenge. It's how we deal with it. Mass deportations, rounding people up, putting them in detention centers, depends on how you do it. Stripping people of their rights, not recognizing any rights, not giving any due process, or stripping people of due process. If they can do it to them, they're sure as hell going to do it to you. I just showed you the other night. What's the big plan, right? What's the big plan? Oh, they say, like over in Britain, the people who want to deport all these people they don't like. They're very much against digital ID and facial recognition technology. And yet there they are. They're putting it in place, going to be putting it in place if elected at workplaces. So everybody walking through has their face scanned. Well, they're not just scanning the illegal immigrants that come in there to work illegally. They're scanning everybody, including you. If you want a job, you have to have your face scanned every time you go in. Maybe that's not a big deal. I don't really care. I haven't done anything wrong. But I do care because sometimes people are politically persecuted. I do care because it's just going too far. It's like I don't like speed radar, you know? I don't like the government snooping in on everything that I do. I just want a little bit of privacy. I don't want the government looking at everything that I do online. I don't want them reading my email or listening to my phone calls. Because a lot of that stuff's private, personal, emotional, family stuff. It's nobody's business but my own. Same with you. That's why. Makes me uncomfortable. As I say, it's just shortcuts. Lazy. Showed you the other night. Alberta Prosperity Project, right? Separatists. Don't tell me that anger and bigotry and prejudice isn't driving a lot of what's going on out there. Just look at the other questions on their referendum. It's all about that. The whole thing. It's all about immigration and the color of people's skin and all of it. And that's what the whole separation thing is largely steeped in as well. Anger, revenge. That's why, as I showed you, and I'm not making it up, it's coming straight out of their proposal, their plan. If you're vaccinated and you're up for possible citizenship in the all-new Republic of Alberta, if you're vaccinated, they'll hold it against you. It's right in their plan. You lose points if you're vaccinated because they want to deport the vaccinated. Why would they want to do that? Is like, really? See, to me, that's just as bad as telling somebody that they can't go to a restaurant, can't ride on a bus or a train or a plane if you aren't vaccinated. You let them start it there. Where's that going to end? You can't have any serious illnesses and no experimental mRNA injections. Right out of their Alberta Prosperity Project Separatist Handbook Plan, whatever you want to call it. Costs you 10 points. They won't deport you just for that, but man, it counts against you. 10 points, it costs you quite a bit. Making the rules up as they go along, that's about revenge. Anger. That's not right either. Just so you know. It's getting worse. These are not the solutions. When I worked at Wendy's, I learned so much. It was about quality, standards, doing the right thing. First job, That wasn't my first. It was actually, I probably had 5 or 6 jobs by that time, but I was just a teenager. But man, I learned a lot. I learned about systems, how a business should really be run, learned about efficiency, not wasting things, waste not, want not. Really simple, basic lessons that most people should learn at home in a good family environment. I learned about teamwork. It was all because of this guy, this one amazing, forward-thinking, genius, common man, Dave Thomas. See, at Wendy's, and I bring this up because of all this talk about the Tim Hortons temporary foreign worker program. At Wendy's, back when they first came on the scene, franchise opened in the 60s, like the first restaurants. By the time it came to where I lived, it was the late 70s in London, Ontario. Yeah, I guess it would be the late 70s, early 80s. But they did it different than the fast food chains like McDonald's. They did it right. Fresh meat shipped in every day on a truck, ground beef, real stuff. And when I worked there, the delivery would come, it would go into the walk-in cooler, and then we had a machine in the back, a patty making machine. The hamburgers were pattied and put into big trays. I used to do it. It went into a hopper, and then they all came out, ka-chunk, 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 and you'd sit. And I worked the night shift sometimes. That's when all the food was prepared. You'd patty all the meat, real fresh meat. He didn't lie. It's not a lie. It was all fresh, not frozen, just like the ads say. The meat would go into the walk-in cooler. We had a salad bar at that point when I was working there. All the salads were prepared back there with like heads of lettuce. Nothing came in prepared. It was all done just like a regular family style restaurant at that time. And it was an incredible system. Yet so simple, but incredible. You started your first job, you work on the fry station, and you drop the fries at just the right moment, and you'd have to work your way up to working the grill. If you became proficient in every job along the way, the most important job in the assembly really was working the grill, because the thing about working the grill is you had to watch through the window, and if you saw cars drive in, as soon as a car drove in, the meat went down on the grill. And you had to see how many people were in that car to determine how many patties you had to put down on the grill. And then you had to kind of gauge, because there were other things they could order off the menu, but you'd try to figure out how many patties you would need. And by the time those people got out of their car, came in, ordered their meal, and then came down the line, that hamburger, if you were a really good grill man or boy, in my case, that patty would come off that grill fresh, hot, and juicy. And you'd be putting it on the bun to the sandwich maker who was to your left. Instant. Fast food, but fresh. If you sucked at the grill, you put down too much meat. And then you'd have to throw that it wouldn't go in the garbage. It went into another tray in a refrigerator. I'll tell you what you did with that in a minute. If you didn't put enough down, the people had to wait. So you had to be really good. And if you weren't good, you had to go back to the fry station. You got demoted. That was the gig, man. I learned so much. It was an assembly line, but it was like just-in-time delivery. Just like the auto companies began to employ years later based on Japanese production methods. But Dave Thomas figured that crap out on the food assembly line at Wendy's years before. Just-in-time delivery. Everything. So it's fresh. You don't cut corners. The patties, square, it was a marketing gimmick, but it was also functional because it fit the spatula. They had square spatulas. In fact, I think I have one here to show you. Yeah. Let me scroll down and I'll show you what we always use at Wendy's. Right here. This is all related to what I'm talking about. I'm not just reminiscing, but efficient. Square spatula that fit the patty. And it was important. It was a tool, right? But everything was different. And that became part of the marketing. We don't cut corners. It was all about the standards. Quality is our recipe. It might look round, but that's because the tip of the square is like facing you. That's not a round burger. That's a square. That's a Wendy's burger. So I learned a lot about teamwork. And when the burgers came off and the people would come down the line, you got to order your burger and then ask for whatever it was you wanted on the burger, and it was made custom for you. I want lettuce, pickles, onions, ketchup, and mustard. And that's what you would get. Anything you want. Any combination you want. Burger King said, have it your way, but Wendy's was doing it that way back in the day anyway. And it was real beef, and that's why it was like, where's the beef? It's right there. A quarter pound on your bun. You want a double, it's a half pound. You want a triple, you're going to get fat, and you won't be able to go to Donald Trump's UFC event. But hey, it's a personal choice. It was a free country back then, almost. But the standards were there, right? And I was a young person, so I learned a lot. And I read his book. And this is really a lot of why I'm talking to you about Dave Thomas tonight. Because Dave Thomas, he was just kind of wise. He was down to earth. He had been adopted himself, raised by only his father because his mom died. So here's a guy who's completely disadvantaged. I think he started, like, the story is that he started with like $40 in his pocket and then worked toward his dream, which was to open his own restaurant. Worked at a place, as I recall, called the Hobby House. I think so. And then Colonel Sanders came by and they started selling Kentucky Fried Chicken as one of the first restaurants at the Hobby House. Dave Thomas met Colonel Sanders, learned more about the fast food, began to learn about the fast food business, went to work for Colonel Sanders at KFC, helped build that business up, but could have got rich off that, but chose to pursue his dream of opening his own restaurant, established Wendy's, brought that system into place. And then he wrote the book on how to be successful using pretty much common sense and a commitment to values and standards. It's not quite the same today as it was when I worked there. I'd say that things have slipped a bit because they don't do things quite the same way. And it isn't the same company because it's been sold. I'm not sure how the corporate structure is set up today, but I know at one point, this is also why I'm bringing this up, it was connected. It was basically Wendy's was the company, part of the parent company that ended up buying Tim Hortons out of Canada. And Tim Hortons, of course, has been in the crosshairs of a lot of the conservative media in Canada over the last year or so, year and a half, 2 years, whatever, largely because of the temporary foreign workers program. But I would say, and I'm going to defend this, because of bigotry, racist BS, a lot of it too, aimed at the corporation because they've been using the temporary foreign workers program. And there is some some real truth to the fact that Tim Hortons has been using that program, or I think more to the point, a lot of the franchisees, the franchise holders, the people who buy the rights to open a franchise, Tim Hortons franchises, they get regional areas, as I understand the way the business structure is set up. They've been using these programs. But again, people are pointing their fingers at, well, they are pointing their fingers at the company. And I think that's kind of fair, although a lot of what they're doing with these posts is kind of grotesque and I'd say uncalled for and kind of disgusting, some of it, frankly. Yeah, it's just outright racist. I'm just going to come out and say it. It's really, a lot of it is awful. Case in point, here's and some of it's just outright lying in order to get you very angry and upset. So here's a post. I just happened to come before I came on. I was just looking for some samples, scrolling down. Here's one. Somebody's account named Sylvia at Northern Gal 45. Who says that says too little too late, never stepping foot in Tim's ever again. And that's because she says they need to apologize for spreading effing hepatitis to the Canadian population. That's because they're referring to a story here posted here with this caption on top of it on X saying the disastrous decline in health and hygiene standards at Tim Hortons and many other Canadian fast food chains is directly attributable to the temporary foreign workers program. Inside 18 months, hepatitis A, a fecal oral disease by Public Health Canada's own definition, blah, blah, blah. And it's because there was a report of hepatitis at a Tim Hortons involving a worker. Not all Tim Hortons. One case involving one worker. It was in the Simcoe-Muskoka District Health Unit region. It was in June of last year. One single confirmed case of hepatitis A. They became aware of it in one of the people who worked there, a food handler, one location. Public Health Unit issued a standard exposure warning for customers who bought food or drinks there between May 17th and June 3rd of that year. They described it as low risk to the public. They offered post-exposure hepatitis A vaccines within 14 days of eating there via special clinics for people who visited during certain recent dates. They explicitly stated there was no ongoing risk at the restaurant. The thing is, the identity of the worker never released. Nationality never released. We don't know who the person was. We don't know if they're actually an immigrant or not. There's somebody with hepatitis. One person, one incident, not spread to anybody, but precautions taken because it was detected in a person, and hepatitis can be, it's out there. But of course, it's presented online as though it's a worker. I don't know. But anything for clicks, I guess, right? And to get people angry. And that is an issue that works. I'll tell you right now, I could chime in. I could pile on like the rest of them. When I say the rest of them, that those other live streamers and some news outlets that have especially made this like a front and center issue. And they're, in my view, exploiting it. I get lots of donations. All I got to do is crap on people. Get people really angry and say, oh, you support me. I'll help you solve the problem. All I got to do is help me and I'll help them get elected or get them the power. And we'll get rid of all these stinky people. And I won't even use the language that they use. This is not a liberal issue. This is not a conservative thing. This is just about what's right and what's wrong. This is about how you treat people. Again, it's not about what you do. It's about how you do it. Okay, you've got an immigration problem. What's the problem? Well, they're just letting in too many people. Systems can't handle it. We're overwhelmed. Maybe the demographic makeup is too concentrated one way or another. A lot of different ways you can look at it. These are issues that communities should be deciding together. There should be discussions on these things. I mean, a lot of different ways. It's complicated. A lot of different ways you have to look at it. But I've said for a long time, always, as far as I can remember, the answer also, to like I say, a lot of the reason the people come here is because their homes just got bombed. Well, who bombed them? Us. Look at what's going on in Cuba right now. Oh, it's a failing regime, they say in Cuba. It's failing because they're a communist government. I'm sure that it doesn't have anything to do with the gunboat diplomacy, the blockade, the armada that has been set up around Cuba to prevent any kind of supplies from getting into the isolated island. So they can't trade with anyone. Talk about tariffs. No oil, no energy. Nothing, not much going in, not much going out of any kind. Well, see, they're not self-sufficient. It doesn't work. Communism sucks. Who cares about them anyway? They all eat dogs down there. I've heard people talking that way. Who cares about those people? You're going to care because now they've created a humanitarian crisis and there are concerns that you're going to have a flood of boat people heading for Florida again. Real concerns about it if they can get past the armada. Well, why would they do that? Because they're starving to death. Because they don't have fuel to run the garbage trucks to pick up the refuse. Now they've got rats running through the streets. And yeah, now there's disease running through the community. Because they haven't been able to keep things clean. Because they haven't been able to function as a modern society. Because everything's been blockaded. Well, they just got to deport them. Where are you going to send them? Send them back? Don't care. Send them anywhere. Well, I see problems with that. You don't hear about it in the media too much, though, right? It's not just what they tell you. It's what they don't tell you. Not a lot of news coming out of Cuba right now. Certainly not on the mainstream media. Don't hear a lot about it in the conservative right-wing independent streamers very much either. In fact, hardly ever at all. Unless it's to say, oh, those commies, we got to do something about them. Yeah, well, they're coming on boats again because of a problem that was created by Trump. And I've heard talk about that from within the administration. It's like, what are we going to do? We're going to have a flood of immigrants again. He'll probably just bomb them and then call them narco-terrorists. Well, maybe not. That might be an exaggeration, and I apologize, but you're getting the idea, right? Well, who cares about them? They're all stinky people. Look, they got diseases. Where'd they get disease? Why did they get diseases? I've been to Cuba. There weren't rats running through the streets. I left the resort. I went exploring. I met the people. I'm not a fan of communism. There was income inequality there. I didn't like that. I didn't like the anti-American rhetoric, propaganda that I was exposed to over there. I didn't like that. But I guess you reap what you sow, right? At one time back in, the 50s, I guess, right before Castro, it was an American playground with casinos and gangsters running the place. Trump wants to go back to that, I guess. I'm not so sure that people want that. A lot of people, it wasn't that long ago. A lot of people remember it. Nor do I want nuclear weapons sitting off the coast of Florida in Cuba. Gets a little bit complicated now. But why do people flee? Well, it's sometimes because of things we do, sometimes not. Sometimes it's other reasons for people leaving a country. It could be because they're being politically persecuted, seeking asylum, whatever it might be. But a lot of the immigration problems over here are problems of our own making. And now you have the politicians who created the problems or party to it, or maybe now responsible or inherited the problem from previous administrations. They're just some of them, not all of them, but some of the people offering alternatives certainly right now are pointing their fingers saying, just get rid of those people and the problem is solved. No, that's a shortcut. That's cutting corners again. You do that, you will be judged. Your children will be judged. Your grandchildren will be judged. Our country will be judged for generations to come. Maybe for eternity. Because of the way we dealt with the problem. It's a trap. And even if we feel okay about it here because we don't think about it and don't have our media tell us about it, or the government won't allow the media to tell us about it, or however you want to spin that, even if we do that, the rest of the world will remember. And that's not solving anything. I've said for a long time, a very long time, some immigration's cool. That's fine. People want to come here. If they're coming here for good reasons, they want to be part of our society, contribute, get jobs, be productive members of our communities. That's all cool, whatever. Bring in as many as we can support. It helps. It can actually help the economy, keep things growing, especially if we have birth control, family planning, all of these other things, and socioeconomic conditions and social engineering going on, telling, young people, especially in our affluent society, you don't have to have kids, whatever, it's a choice. And a lot of people choosing not to. That's up to you as far as I'm concerned. I'm all about freedom, so do as you will. But if we really want to help people, we really want to solve the problem of immigration, it's not what some of the people, I would say on the progressive side, advocate for, which is just open the borders and let them all pour in. That's not the answer either. You can't just let the whole world come, obviously. So the better solution, in my view, is to help the people where they are. Help them with aid, technology, spread prosperity, welcome them into our economic system, free markets. Don't blockade their country, help them. Help them become more prosperous, trade with them. What's wrong with that? And if we're helping each other, we're probably not going to be bombing each other. And that's really where we need to start, is just stop bombing people. Don't blockade people. Don't punish people. Because they're not going to trust you. But if you view the world through the lens of like a Donald Trump, to him, as an authoritarian, he views the economic game as zero sum. It's all for me, nothing for you. The only way for me to win is for you to lose. And so the best way for me to win is to just take your stuff. The best way for me to win is to put you under my control, so you have to do what I tell you to do. I'm going to take out your president and then install someone who is my obedient servant and will rule that country on my behalf, because I'm now really the ruler of that. And they have to do as I say. And we'll just take it. We'll leave you a little bit over here. We'll let you have your fake job ruling that country. That's what's going on. That's the way he's handling this. That's the New World Order. And the people who have been telling you and telling me that the real threat is things like the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, the globalists, they've only been telling you half the story. It's true that those organizations have been dysfunctional and have not really been working, but it's not true that UN declarations or any of the international laws that have come from the post-World War II rules-based international order, that any of that stuff is necessarily being binding. In fact, it has not been. It's been binding on some, but not others. And specifically, who has it not been binding on? The superpowers. Russia doesn't recognize it. The United States doesn't recognize it. They don't care. None of the rules apply. They make up their own rules, even as they have been involved with these larger global organizations, which have been designed not to establish a one world government, but to protect the sovereignty of all the member states through the rule of law, so that all of the different countries have to abide by the same set of international laws by agreement, so that they don't fight with each other and invade each other and bomb each other. That was the goal. But when you're as powerful as some of these superpower countries are, you don't want any of these smaller countries dictating to you, especially if they have political systems or ideas or religions that maybe some people feel threatened by. You don't want to have to subscribe to those things. And so you hold that at bay and you apply your power around the globe, depending on which administration we're talking about through history. Basically, what I'm saying is they get to bomb countries with impunity, and they get to commit war crimes in some cases with no accountability, because they're not part of the ICC, the International Criminal Court, or the ICJ. They have vetoes at the United Nations. So with a single vote of their own, they just say, no, we're not doing that. And then they get to walk away. Other countries don't get to do that. They're too small. But the whole system was set up so that the sovereignty of individual nations was supposed to be protected. The problem is the one that most protected were the countries with the veto power. They didn't have to follow the rules. They don't follow the rules. That's why we've got what we've got right now. You've got the Trump administration abusing everything. Sometimes, depending on who was president, what administration you had in place, they recognized international law. They respected it. They worked with other countries. Canada, I think more in that camp. But if you're Godzilla, and I mean the United States, and you've got a president who doesn't really care about any of that, doesn't want to contribute to it, doesn't want to be part of it, wants to stop playing the game, because it has been a game, and that's why it hasn't really worked very well. It's been dysfunctional. It's like rules for thee, but not for me. Me, in this case, being the United States, or Russia too, now China. It's a good idea. It has been a noble effort. It's something worth working toward and trying to preserve. It's the alternative to the New World Order. But the people who want to bring you the New World Order are pointing at that saying, no, that's the New World Order. It's not. That's the old world order. It is the New World Order, or it was after World War II. It was the New World Order then. And now we have this New World Order, which is being referenced, especially by middle powers like Canada. Mark Carney calling it out. He's saying it's been kind of a charade. It's been a game. Because we know, wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge, these guys with the nukes, they get to decide largely what goes on. They don't have to follow the rules. So it's been a bit of a fake system. Applies to everybody over there. This dictator of this country doing all these bad things, yeah, they can be held accountable in an international court and pay the price as a a genocidal maniac. But if you're the president of the United States, you're Richard Nixon, you can bomb the hell out of a country. Nothing's going to happen to you. Because you get to cut corners. Take the easy way. Except it's not the easy way. See, that's why you've got people firing off fireworks and shooting ICE officers in the neck, because that's the price you pay in the long run. Because you cut corners, or you let people cut corners, because you had another day in paradise while other people suffered and you didn't have to look at it, so you didn't care. Maybe you didn't care because you didn't know. Sometimes people don't care because they just don't care. And now that it's come home to the home front, the roosters have come home. It's culture shock. So what are you going to do about it? Get rid of them all. How will history judge? Doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. It really doesn't. But it's very appealing to some people. No, it's the same damn people that locked you down. It's the same damn people that mandated you. A lot of you are cheerleading for it, thinking you're going to get revenge. I'll be right back.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And it has gone too far. If you speak out against it, people say, "Oh, you're a censor. You're in favor of censorship," or, this guy's not racist. He's not a bigot, isn't he? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe asshole is just a better word. Okay, because he's not anti-Semitic because a Semite is this and a Semite is that, and that's not a Semite. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, really. I'm so sick of the word games. How about just asshole? Like this Jake Lang. This guy, what a joke. Shows up at the Delaney Ice Facility in Newark, New Jersey, gets up on top of a U-Haul, sets fire to multiple LGBT pride flags, because, of course, we have Pride Month beginning, and that triggers a lot of people. I didn't know that it was gay people that were bringing in all the immigrants, but apparently that's who's to blame for the immigration problem. And now we're not supposed to just this is the thing, like, where does it stop? Yesterday it was deport the immigrants. Now it's deport the immigrants and all the gay people and transgender people. Okay, I don't support this. Just for the record, this guy's an asshole. Don't know if he's a racist. Don't know if he's a bigot. Don't know if he's a homophobe, but he's definitely an asshole.
We will not allow this degeneracy.
Answer our question.
Right here, stop, Gregor, stop.
Did you text any 15-year-old girls on the way?
We will not allow this degeneracy to stand in our country. These people need to go. Right here, Gregor.
Jay, don't follow.
We will overcome the homosexual agenda to destroy our children.
Don't do it. Come on, man. Don't do it. Oh, Jay, come on, man.
Jay, have you legally touched the vagina in your life?
Faggots! Happy Pride Month, faggots! Get out of our country! This is a Christian country! Happy Pride Month! Happy Pride Month, faggots!
Jay, don't get mad
Get out of our country!
Community, but
Get out of our
country!
We will never relent! America's a Christian country! America's a Christian country! Get these homos out! Get these people out! They're the ones bringing in all the migrants! We will not relent! We will not relent! America's a Christian country! America will not relent! We will stand against this degeneracy! Here you go, faggots! Happy Pride Month! Make America great again! Make America great again! We will stand against this degeneracy!
Excuse my language, but he's also fucking nuts. Okay? That guy is a fucking nut bar and an asshole.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
There's insanity on all sides now because everything's just gone to the extremes. It's extremism to the left. It's extremism to the right. I don't know if I even have a home anymore politically. I'm pretty sure I don't. And I'm not looking in the chat because I'm afraid of what I might see in there. I might not have any friends left by the time I'm done because views have just become so extreme on all sides, which is probably why I'm just relentlessly attacked from all sides too. I don't think there's much moderation or not many moderates left, I guess. I think I'm a pretty moderate guy because I don't know if I even agree with the economist Paul Krugman here either, who, you know, I understand why people are frustrated. I think I've been too tolerant, honestly, but I don't know. Let's listen to him.
We need to defang Trump as much as possible and make sure that neither he nor anybody who follows in his footsteps has power after the next two elections. But beyond that, we really need to do a thorough purging of the United States. We need a demogrification, and that is I'm not going over the top by using a word that's very similar to the denazification that we pursued successfully after World War II in Germany. We need to...
Has it gone that far? Has it? Maybe. I'm certain it's worse in the U.S. than it is here, but it's getting bad here as well. I'm becoming more sensitive to it. So even when I saw the leader of the new conservative leader out provincially in British Columbia, elected over the weekend, you see the shift, right? And the rhetoric in the speech reflective of what we're hearing from Trump and the MAGA movement in the States. You're hearing that echoed also in Danielle Smith. So this ideology is now finding its way, it's winding its way, snaking its way, to use Trump's story as part of this, of the snake. They've let the snake in, and it's winding its way through Canadian politics. As a result, our country is in peril. It's on the verge of breaking up, maybe, because of the separatist movement. And you could definitely hear the drumbeat of separatism in the speech given by the new conservative leader in BC yesterday, which we ran here on Maverick News. It concerns me. It's all political opportunism. How far will it go? Well, I wonder how far the conservatives federally would go. Pierre Poilievre, I don't know what you're going to get with that guy, because he has flipped, he's flopped, he's adjusted his position. He's trying to read the political tea leaves, get a lay of the political landscape all the time. And you see that his rhetoric shifts about every 6 months. He's not consistent. It's hard to really pin him down. And he's grabbing onto any issue that he can. Right now, the issue du jour for the past 48 hours has been Canada is in a recession. Technically, that's true. 2 quarters back to back, negative GDP growth. It's like 0.1% negative this past quarter. So they're saying, oh, it's a recession, and Poilievre playing that up. I'll put it to you. Yeah, it is a concern. We are in a trade war, for those who haven't noticed, with the United States. That's really why. It's nobody wins in these tariff wars. I guarantee you the economic numbers coming out of the United States are not as rosy as Trump is telling you, because he lies about everything. Poilievre, though, on the other hand, I don't know if he's so much lying, but I don't think he's unhappy about the economic downturn or this technical recession, because it gives him an opportunity politically to go after the Liberal government. I'm just saying, he's a politician, and he's going to politician. He's going to do what politicians do. He's going to take advantage of this, and he did today.
The group of 7 industrialized nations, they all face tariffs and global economic forces, but Japan is not in recession. The United States is not in recession. The United Kingdom is not in recession. France is not in recession. Germany is not in recession. Italy is not in recession. The only G7 country in recession is Canada. Why is it that Canada, under this Liberal Prime Minister, is the only G7 country in a recession today?
Here, here. Here. Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member should do his economic homework. He should understand that Canada is the most integrated country in the world with the United States. They have declared a trade war on us. This side of the House understands that. We will control what we can control. That's why we're building new mines at Red Chris. That's why we're building new pipelines on Sunrise. That's why we're building 4 new mines in Saskatchewan, a uranium mine, a potash mine, and a copper mine. They should start to understand economics and try to help build this country instead of tear it down.
The Honorable.
I wish there was a way for the politicians to just get on board and work toward a common goal like that. But of course, Poilievre's kind of doing his job, which is to be in opposition, to be a contrarian. And if the Liberals were in opposition, I'm sure they would be doing a very much the same thing and taking advantage of the negative political numbers in order to score political points. Fair enough, I guess. But right now, with Canada facing such daunting challenges on the economic front, it's disheartening to see these exchanges take place in the House of Commons during question period. Oh, you think that I'm overblowing the racism thing? Really? Well, you tell me, is this isn't racist? Something like this? This is, what is this then?
Come join our team. We are an equal opportunity employer. Learn new skills. We offer full benefits and free food. Punjabi preferred. Master the art of customer service.
Don't even start with me. It's racist. Why are we here? Cutting corners. Letting the standards slip. Oh, I'm not talking about Tim Hortons. I'm talking about people. Talking about conservatives. I'm not alone. But anybody who's been calling for, higher standards, especially from Trump, they get purged. They're exiled, shunned, called traitors. Back during the January 6th protest, Vice President Mike Pence, some people wanted to hang him. I didn't want to believe it. I was like, it's just a protest that got out of hand. But no, there are people there that were pretty, pretty crazy would be a good word. But maybe we need a little more Mike Pence. I remember when Trump was first elected, Trump 1.0, when Pence was the vice president on board with Trump. He was cleaning up Trump messes every bloody day. That's why he needed Mike Pence, because Trump would say stupid things, and then Mike Pence would have to come along, do a news conference, media scrums. He'd be asked about the stupid thing that Trump said, and he'd make excuses for him, clean up the mess so they could move along. That's what he did. He was the Trump fixer in terms of public relations. Felt sorry for him, actually. Maybe we need a little more Mike Pence. He on Face the Nation this week, he's got a new book out, and he's saying that conservatives have kind of lost their direction. He's saying that conservative principles are being ignored, denied, lost among the populist uprising, this populist government of Donald Trump. It's true. A lot of people don't want to hear that because Pence refused to just do what Trump wanted him to do on January 6th. He followed his conscience, not the order of the guy who was asking him to do something that was going against his morals.
Good morning to you, Mr. Vice President.
Good morning, Mark. Good to see you.
You clearly think your party needs some reminders here. And you write that Americans are confused about what it means to be a conservative. You say, for many right-wing populists, grievance dictates policy. Who or what are you thinking about there?
Well, I think, look, from all of my adult life, the Republican Party has been defined by a commitment to a conservative agenda, to America as leader of the free world, to limited government, free market economics, and traditional moral values, especially the right to life. And I'm proud to say that from the Reagan administration to the first Trump administration, we governed on that agenda. But I wrote what conservatives believe because just in the last 4 or 5 years, there's been a rise of what I call the populist right, that focuses more on what we're against than what we're for, focuses more on grievance than a positive conservative agenda. I mean, the conservative movement has always been battling politically with the progressive left, but now there's a new threat from the populist right that would embrace policies of isolationism abroad, that would embrace big government and protectionism at home, marginalize the right to life. And as we go into this fall's elections and go into 2028, I thought it was important that we take a moment as a party and as a movement to remind ourselves what we believe.
Yeah. I can't really argue with that. Conservative values have been abandoned. It flabbergasts me. Trump 1.0, not what we're getting with Trump 2.0. It's not the same. This is far more extreme. Pence is right. Those conservative values have been thrown out. Might makes right. I hate to use that. It's kind of a cliche. But it's true. I don't agree with everything Mike Pence says. This is another cliche. I don't agree with everything they say, but no, it's true. But I'll tell you this. I don't think Mike Pence is the kind of guy who would sign off on torturing people. I don't think Mike Pence is the kind of guy who would do terrible things to children. I don't think Mike Pence is the kind of guy who would just, I don't know, he just seems like a decent man. Seems. Don't know him personally. Judge people by their actions. But I have to say, I have. And while I understand why people got upset during the January 6th protest, riot, whatever, however you want to characterize it, he did at the time what he thought was right. And I have to respect that because he did that against immense pressure. He followed his conscience. He stood his ground against very powerful forces. Can you imagine the amount of pressure he must have been under when he refused to do what Donald Trump told him to do? That takes courage. It takes conviction. That guy. He did what he thought was right. And he stood up to do it. Now he was there and I'd say misjudged things as many others did at the time with the lockdowns and all that stuff. But when it really came down to it, he stood his ground. And he's still out there. A man of conviction, a man of principle. That's rare. Still out there fighting too. I'm going to buy his book. I'm going to read it. What's his book called? It's, I believe it's over here. What Conservatives Believe, Rediscovering the Conservative Conscience. Here. So now I did not get paid to promote his book. What Conservatives Believe, Rediscovering the Conservative Conscience. Available on Amazon. Available now. Also, Wendy's didn't pay me either. Just so you know, I got $0 from Wendy's talking about Dave Thomas, their system, and why they really have been a great restaurant. Things different there now. You know, I don't know. I don't think they patty the meat in the back anymore. I don't think they prepare the food the way they used to. I think it's done off-site in larger facilities, and then they send the food out to all the restaurants now. I'm not sure. I haven't worked there since I was a kid, right? But you can tell that there is a difference. The other thing that they've cut a corner on is to get more efficiency in terms of time. When you go up and you order your burger now, you can order it with whatever you want on it. But if you don't, they don't ask you, what do you want on it? They just put a standard toppings on your burger, on your sandwiches, they would call it there. So when you get it, you're going to get mayonnaise on it, on your burger. And I don't like mayonnaise. See, you have to remember to ask for that not to be on there now. I don't like that. Dave Thomas had it right, and they screwed that part up. But that's what happens when it's sold, taken over by big corporate interests. And then franchisees buy up large blocks of stores or restaurants in this case. And that's what goes on with Tim Hortons as well. And you know what, that temporary foreign workers program? Yeah, there is abuse there by the franchise holders who have been exploiting it, taking advantage of it. But if you really look into it, do you know who really gets screwed? More often than not, you know what the real problem is? Quite often, it's the workers who are hired through the temporary foreign workers programs that are being screwed. That's a big problem in the trucking industry. It's also a problem with people hired through the program to work on farms and in fast food restaurants. There are investigations, both by government and journalists, that have been ongoing to get, expose a lot of those problems. So while people are pointing fingers at the people, the workers, quite often they're being threatened, not being paid as much as they were supposed to be paid, all kinds of other issues that they're facing in terms of workplace conditions as well. Under these TFW programs, that's one of the reasons the federal government has been dialing the program back. It's also because of pressure being applied from the public, becoming aware of some of these problems, and there have been problems in it. The TFW program has been exploited, abused, and that's because when you use these government, when you make a road, people will drive on it. So if you have a government using these socialized programs, or creating a form of corporate socialism, because that's what it is. This isn't for the workers, it's for the business owners and for the corporations. It's corporate welfare. I'm not in favor of it, but I'm not pointing my finger at the poor soul standing behind the counter making a sandwich at Tim Hortons. It's not their fault. They came because they wanted a job. And they know that if they don't do what the boss says and work an extra 3 hours that day, they're going to get deported. And I feel triply sorry for them because, well, they're getting somebody's lunch who probably walked in there, paying for it with a welfare check. They might be making a video or a fake post with a picture of a cockroach and a coffee, blaming it on the guy behind the counter. Not to say that some of that stuff isn't true. There are problems with all these restaurants. But you know as well as I do, a lot of this stuff is exaggerated for the sole purpose of ramping up hatred and anger and directing things so that you point your finger at a group of people, which is really just an exercise in scapegoating by the people who hold real power above all of us. Because they were cutting corners. They were buying votes. Things getting out of hand. Not telling the truth. Exaggerating, making up numbers. We're all doing our best to get by. And as I say, the solutions to a lot of these problems are not as complicated as maybe we think they are. A lot of it just comes down to enforcing the rules, evenly applied, treating people as individuals. Doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, or your religion, or your political beliefs. If you break the law, you pay the price. If you enforce the law, it acts as a deterrent to others who might break the law in the future. And in some, and I think our police are trying to do what they need to do. And sometimes we do see charges laid. That's the case today in Toronto as a result of a protest involving Palestinian protesters. We had the arrest of 5 individuals charged with incitement of hate, which some people, one day people don't want these laws because they feel they might be a threat to whatever terrible things they want to say. And yet, on the other hand, they're going to applaud the application of these laws going back the other way. And I'm sure that's going to be the case here today as we see these charges laid in connection with what's called anti-Semitic signage that was allegedly displayed at Bathurst and Shepherd on March 15th at a protest. See if I can find you the pictures here of it. I have the police chief talking about the charges first out of Toronto today. So let's go to that clip and then I'll get you the image of the signage that got these folks, some of the signage that got them into some trouble here.
And yesterday, early in the morning, police carried out search warrants and arrested 5 additional suspects in relation to the March 15th incident. These 5 individuals have been charged with public incitement of hatred and willful promotion of hatred. The individual arrested 2 months ago was also charged with willful promotion of hatred. Willful promotion of hatred is a very serious charge, and it's a very rare charge that requires the consent of the Attorney General of Ontario. To give you some more details, since October 7th, 2023, we laid 30 hate propaganda charges, including 11 willful promotion of hatred charges, which require the consent of the Attorney General. And in these cases, it involved a total of 20 different accused. In a 10-plus year period before October 7th, meaning 2010 and 2023, we had only laid 6 hate propaganda charges, including 4 charges of willful promotion of hatred.
Okay, I need just a moment longer here, so I'm just going to take a quick break. Come back, we'll continue on the other side of this.
Maverick News. expose lies and tell truth. The world is watching.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
protect the victims. And also Donald Trump. Coincidence? Just dumb luck. Right? Another sealed file. That crocodile smile. We did our best, says the DOJ, while the truth just fades away. Another new spin. No one will win except the rich guys with gold ID cards and closets full of secrets behind steel bars. Just a little glitch. A billionaire's privilege. That's the sound of the case. Closed.
All right, here we are. So this is what led to those charges. Rat-infested Star of David used to intimidate Toronto Jewish neighborhood is the headline. You can see the image there of exactly that. Brought the image, says here, into one of the city's most visibly Jewish neighborhoods, turning a central intersection into a scene of open anti-Semitic intimidation. Yeah. So The thing is, there's lots of hate to go around. Hate on that side, hate on that side, hate in the middle. This person that hates that person, this group hates that group. Israel is doing stupid things and leveling Gaza, and Israel is under constant attack. It is amazing that they're even there. To have to live as in Israel with you looking up and it looks like fireworks because they're constantly shooting down rockets, intercepting them with their Iron Dome. How is that? What kind of life is that? But that's their existence. No wonder they're angry. And then they get attacked, and then they attack them. And I said, that's a trap. Netanyahu shouldn't go in there after October 7th, shouldn't do that. The world won't like it. So on the public relations front, image, they've lost credibility. They've lost support, sympathy, even to the point where people don't care about what happened during the Holocaust. A lot of people coming back the other way. We're not going to solve it here. I don't know if we'll ever solve it over there. But just rounding people up, putting them in concentration camps or detention centers or whatever you want to call them, I'm certain that's not the answer either. And when you make somebody a promise and give them citizenship, I think I'm big on keeping promises to people. However, if people break the law, that's something else. But also, you don't elect somebody who comes in and just passes a bunch of laws so that they can do whatever the hell they want. Just start rounding people up. We've seen that before. That's cutting corners. That's just saying, I don't like it's happening. I don't like those people, and I want somebody to just get rid of them. That will make me feel better. Really? Is that really what you want? Let's just do a little social media scroll. Here we are. Quebec politicians denounce white supremacist gathering in Shawinigan. Then somebody posts over here. Yup, this from a woman, referring to this politician, who, for all intents and purposes, refuses to speak English. When you encourage hatred for one group, it simply spills over to other groups. You reap what you sow. Quebec politicians condemn white supremacy gathering in Shawinigan. Robert Darragon says, whoever this is, don't know, yesterday's event in Shawinigan did indeed take place by fiercely federalist white supremacists. It is organized by a local group of the Second Sons, a Canadian and federalist group that is openly supremacist/fascist. Shawinigan. I can't read the French, so I won't try. Marc-Andre Castagner says the CBC is losing their minds over a Palestine protest over the weekend for their racist views. Just kidding. There was a white supremacist gathering in a park in Shawinigan. Leftist violence will continue to be ignored. I don't know that it is because they just lay charges, which should have been laid a long time ago, which, all this stuff, all this crap should just be handled, dealt with, all of it. Just handle it all sides. You start shooting fireworks at cops, you go to jail. You break windows, you get arrested, you get charged. I'm just a peaceful protester. Nah. Peaceful protest is fine. cool. That's political expression, free speech. That's all fine. But keep going and cross the line. And I say, go ahead and lay the charges. I'll tell you something else. During the Freedom Convoy, we were live streaming a lot of the live streams to just show everybody everything happening in real time. When Pat King started driving around and was surveilling police and putting out alerts on social media to warn people when he thought they might be coming, I cut that shit off. I was like, whoa, I'm pretty sure that's not legal and it's not proper. You could be putting lives in danger. Who knows who's out there? I don't think it's not proper to be giving that kind of information out where police officers are going or when they're leaving here and when they're going there. That's like intelligence gathering. That's digital surveillance in real time of police. For what purpose? No, I cut those feeds off. I didn't share that stuff. That goes too far. That goes beyond a peaceful protest, in my opinion. And I just make that reference to him because that just happened to be one of the things he was doing, and I don't know who told him to do that or if he was doing it on his own, but they were doing ride arounds, and yeah, I remember. And I go, oh, this see, things can go too far. Even if that road is paved with good intentions, it can lead directly to hell or charges. And he did end up being charged in a lot of different things, maybe just poor judgment. It happens on all sides. And racism, bigotry, prejudice, it's not restricted to white people. There's plenty of it to go around. The Palestinians don't like the Jewish people. The Jewish people don't like the Palestinian people. You know what it's like. But you're not going to solve the problem by deporting just a bunch of people. The problems are much more complex than that. It's the same thing that I see when it comes to like housing. Oh, we have a housing shortage. What should we do? Well, what's the government going to do? The government should just build a bunch of houses. That won't solve the problem because they're ignoring the laws of economics. Government alone does not solve problems. They can create them, and then often they get you focused on things so you don't pay attention to what they're really doing and the other things they're screwing up at the time. Sometimes they'll even go to war. And the problem with social media right now is that a lot of the media outlets and influencers out there just exploit this stuff. And it just gets worse. And that's why we're living in a post-truth era. To the point where it is driving people crazy. And that brings me full circle, I think, back to, well, before we get to that, let me show you this. This is the next one that is on the radar for enforcement. Possibly. People calling this out. Images of Trump, some politicians here, prominent figures, Netanyahu in effigy being hanged. This has set off a firestorm too. This is in Montreal over the weekend. People are upset about it because some people are saying, this is because Netanyahu is Jewish. They're making a big deal out of it, saying that they're doing it because he's Jewish. The group responsible for this has posted a statement, I believe, online saying that they're within their rights to do this because they're doing it to politicians. But that's dangerous stuff. That can get you in a lot of trouble on its own. Any threat against the president, that can get you put away for a long time in the United States. So it's getting worse. I think the important thing here to remember is, if they can do it to somebody else, they can do it to you. We have to be vigilant about protecting our rights, our freedoms, our liberty. That means freedom for one has to extend to freedom for all. Dave Thomas didn't teach me specifically about politics or rights or any of the things I'm really talking about here tonight, except that he did, because working at Wendy's taught me values. It taught me about teamwork. It taught me about the value of what we were selling. There was a training session to work on the fry station, and you were told, make sure you put the exact same amount of fries in every order, never more, never less. Because if you put more in this time for somebody, they'll expect it the next time, and the next time they won't remember that you did them a favor. They'll think that you're ripping them off. But uniformity, consistency, standards, value. But it's also about the value of quality. And just from his book, which I read a long time ago, but these are some of the things to take away from what Dave Thomas taught, and it applies to everything we've been talking about here tonight. Quality is everything, David. This is something that he was taught from a mentor, talks about it in his book, and he says, the quote from the mentor to Dave is that quality is everything, David. Remember that if people keep cutting corners, their country is going to be in big trouble. That still resonates with me today. Another quote from Dave Thomas tonight, founder of Wendy's. Honesty and integrity are the foundation upon which every successful person stands. Dishonest people don't make it in the long run. Hello, Donald Trump. You earn your reputation by the things you do every day. And at the end of the day, all a man has is his integrity. Nothing could be truer in the news business. Also from Dave Thomas. What's the secret to success? It's no secret. You need a winning attitude, honesty, and integrity, and a burning desire to succeed. Show up every day. Do your best. If a job's worth doing, do it right. That's me. Another one. He says, look for people who care about you and learn from them. Find ways to be an entrepreneur. Find people you can learn from. I do that. You guys do that for me. You all make me better. You challenge me. You share with me. You pick me up when I'm down. You really do. And I thank you for that. Dave Thomas says, everyone has a responsibility to support their community. He says, giving back is the right thing to do. I'm not sure that that's what Donald Trump is doing. I think Donald Trump, for instance, is doing the opposite of that. Even with this Freedom 250 anniversary event, celebration, 250th anniversary of the United States, he's making it all about him. And it certainly isn't about efficiency. Remember I told you about the chili meat? Oh, no, I didn't. I told you what happens I told you I would tell you what happens to the burgers that didn't get placed on buns because the grill boy made too many. That went into a bin in a refrigerator that was used for chili meat afterward. If you were a great grill man or boy, you had no chili meat at the end of your shift, and the only way to make the chili was to make new chili meat. But none of it went to waste. That chili meat was then cooked further to make sure it was safe, and then used to make chili. Zero waste. And I'll tell you, it pretty much was zero waste. And that was all manual, done by human beings. No AI. What a system. Not sure that they do all of those things today. Still a pretty good place, but nothing can compare to what Dave Thomas created originally. He also says, learn to rely on yourself early. My advice is to keep your eyes on your goal. Work hard toward that goal day by day, minute by minute. It's like an athlete training for the Olympics. In order to be a success, you have to really, really want it and believe that you will get it. That's why I'm here every night, because I still believe in Canada, and I believe in the United States too. We're just going through a rough period. We have to get things back on track. Get back to, like Mike Pence was saying tonight, I think, just get back to the basics of what conservatism really is. And there's that new style of Wendy's, but it still says on the sign right out in front, quality service that doesn't cut corners. Quality is the Wendy's recipe. Again, I'm not getting paid for this. This is a case study because I worked there. And this stuff taught me so much. And that's why I agree with people who say we have to have these opportunities, these job opportunities for young people today. There's no reason young people shouldn't be working in these places. And for that matter, some old people. I think I might have to go down and get myself, well, people mock the jobs, which is why they can't fill these jobs. People call them Mick jobs. Who wants to work at McDonald's? There's not much prestige in it. No status in the community, really, right? Think about it. Sometimes people get mocked or made fun of. And yet when I think back, I'm like, sounds pretty appealing, actually. I might like to get myself a job at Wendy's again. And in fact, I might need to. I've been thinking about it. Pays better than this. I'll tell you that. And you get a discount on your lunch. And the old square spatula for the square hamburgers, trademark, because they don't cut corners. Which brings me to the commercials. And I have a vintage commercial queued up here from the 80s, talking about Wendy's making those burgers, about how I made those burgers back in the day, fresh, hot off the grill. Again, didn't get paid for this. But if you want to sponsor the show or make a donation, Wendy's, you can do that.
Yeah, I'd like a hamburger. As you speak. You already made it? We already made it. When? What time is it? 12 o'clock. Your hamburger 11 o'clock. So if I want a hamburger made fresh, I gotta come at 11 o'clock? Our 11 o'clock hamburger, we made at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock?
It's like 10, 11, 12, or vice versa.
So I gotta come at 10 o'clock.
Our 10 o'clock hamburger, we made at 9 o'clock.
I gotta be here for lunch at 9 o'clock?
Look at it this way, you beat the new time crowds.
At Wendy's, your hamburger is always made fresh the moment you order, and not a second sooner. The others can't promise that.
Who's on first? Pretty good. That's the way it was back in the 80s. Where's the beef? I don't know. A lot of lessons to be learned there, though, and a lot about standards doing the right thing, right? And then there's this, and I'm sure that you've heard this. I just bring it up tonight because things are getting worse out there. First, they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And I'm sorry, this has kind of become a cliche. I think it washes over people now because people have heard it so much, and they don't even pay attention to the history behind it. But it resonates tonight. First, they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. And the children. Martin Luther King said, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." I'm saddened because I think some people who are my friends have fallen into this deep, dark pit of despair, this dark, black abyss. This rabbit hole of prejudice, bigotry, extremism, thinking they're going to solve something or do something, maybe even right, when nothing could be so wrong. Because it's just doing to others what might have just been done to you over the past few years, making you just as bad. And I will not participate. That's why I'm here every night. That's why I love you guys. Because Dave Thomas said, a family can count on each other. We are stronger when we stand together. I will see you back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
Sunshine, baby, screaming loud, raise the fire.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.